Ahlan wa sahlan. This is our second video on the derived forms of verbs and masdars. As we mentioned in the last video, tradition dictates that we number the derived forms using Roman numerals. We talked about 2 through 5 last time, and here we see 6 through 10. And the underlying principle is exactly the same, right? We have to identify that judhr, that triconsonantal root, and then we can slip it into masdar form, right? So here we have a couple of examples of actual words, and again, fa, ayn, lam in all these examples are just placeholders at the moment for the meaningful judhr that we're going to work with. So here we have some conjugated present tense verbs. Yatabadal, to exchange back and forth. So if we want to turn that into a masdar, we need to identify our judhr, right? We see that the ya and the ta are not our important 3-letter root letters, so we can eliminate those. And the alif as well is just part of the wazn, part of the form, so we identify ba, dal, lam as our judhr. And now we want to talk about exchanging the idea and pop it into that masdar form like so. All right, the red is our exoskeleton, and the black represents our actual judhr. Dul, and notice that we have a dhamma here for form 6, right? Form 7, we have a verb yanqata'a, to be cut off. Sometimes people wonder why we have these derived forms, and they do express certain shades of meaning having to do with the root. Form 7 is always reflexive or passive, right? Yanqata'a means to be cut off. We would use a different form to talk about cutting something off. So, if we want to turn it into our masdar, we would identify that root, right? What are we going to swap out with the fa, ayn, lam? What's the meaningful judhr? And in this case, it's qaf, ta, ayn. So we wind up with in qita. A mnemonic that some people use is form 7 has the noon, 7 with the noon. Letter N, we have kind of a sound harmony that some people find useful, a little trick. Form 8, yastami'a, meaning to listen to something. If we want to turn it into our masdar, we have to identify that judhr, which is sin, ma'ayn, and we wind up with istima'. Al-istima', listening. Form 9 is very, very rare, and in fact, a lot of popular textbooks don't even teach it to students because it's only used to refer to colors and defects. That's what we say in English. Something turning brown, or to be one-eyed, or to have a twisted foot. Rather strange verbs like that. You don't encounter it terribly often, but one example that you might realistically expect to encounter at some point in your life would be yahmar, to be or become red, especially in the face, right? To blush. It's a verb that you do actually see very occasionally. So if we want to pop it into our masdar, remember that we have this shadda, which represents a doubled letter. So in order, you'll notice, in order to turn it into a masdar, that doubled last letter of the root is actually separated. So we wind up with ha, mim, and then the ra, which has that shadda. Ih, me, rar. Blushing, reddening, getting red. Finally, form 10. We've got a lot of extra letters in this derived form, but the principle is exactly the same. Yastamti'a, to enjoy. And we notice that very conveniently, unlike a lot of these others, our root letters are all lined up at the end of the conjugated verbs. So we can say mim, ta, ain. And our masdar is al-istimta'.